court is now in session. Today, the Chamber continues to hear the remainder of the current witness testimony and commence hearing testimony of a civil party, that is through TCCP 261, and if possible, we begin hearing the testimony of through TCW 943, says the President. And the graphier, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals at today's proceedings. Graphier, Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has requested to waive his direct presence in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the graphier. The witness who is to conclude his testimony today is present and ready in the courtroom. We have a reserve civil party, that is through TCCP 261. We also have a reserve witness, that is through TCW 943. The visual unit informs the Chamber that the witness will arrive at the premise this morning and will take an oath accordingly. President, thank you, and the Chamber now decides on the request by Nuon Chea. The Chamber has received a waiver from the accused, Nuon Chea, dated 17 June 2015, which notes that due to his health, that is, headache and backache, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in the future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to be present and participate in the 17 June 2015 hearing. Having seen the medical report of the accused Nuon Chea by the duty daughter for the accused at the ECCC, dated 17 June 2015, who notes that Nuon Chea has a severe back pain and dizziness when he sits for long, and recommends that the Chamber shall grant Nuon Chea his request to follow the proceedings remotely from a holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants Nuon Chea his request to follow the proceedings remotely from a holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The AV unit personnel are instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can follow it remotely. That applies for the whole day. The Chamber now hands the floor to the defense team for Keo Sampon to continue putting questions to the witness. You may proceed, counsel.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour à tous. Bonjour, Monsieur le témoin. Je vais continuer aujourd'hui les questions que vous avez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to continue putting questions to you to seek clarification. I'm going to ask you to listen attentively to my questions. My questions are quite precise, so please answer the questions as precisely as possible. You said that you had worked on the dam worksite digging earth to dig canals. So can we agree and say that you worked in Kampong Tmo commune?
Witness, yes, I worked in Kampong Tmo commune as the dam work site was located there.
Do you know how far the place where you worked is from the reservoir of the 1st January dam?
I cannot give you an estimate of the distance. However, the site where I worked was to the east of the Kampong Tmo Pagoda.
Yesterday, you said that there were no machines to build the dam. Do you mean that there were no machines nowhere on the worksite, or simply where you were working?
The work at that time was manual, and there was no machineries used. People used hoes with their hands to dig the ground and carried the earth.
I'm telling you this, witness, because a certain number of people already testified before this chamber and said that in certain places there were machines being used, such as bulldozers and excavators as well. And sometimes people even used explosives to blast the rock. So does this change your position, or can you only speak about what you saw personally?
Mr. President, my objection is that if counsel wants to confront the witness with someone else's testimony, that's fine. Counsel shouldn't be characterizing the evidence and then asking the witness whether that changes his testimony. There have been some witnesses who've testified that. There have been more witnesses who've testified that there was no machinery. So I don't think counsel should characterize the evidence and then ask the witness whether that would change their testimony. She's free to confront the witness with specific statements if she wishes.
Je n'ai pas de problème.
No problem with that. Witness, before this chamber, witnesses, and here I'm referring to Petsoka, in the transcript is E1/301.1 from 21 May 2015, a little bit after 10:57 in the morning. The question that was put to the witness is the following. Witness, do you remember what kind of machines were used, if there were any, on the worksite? And the answer was, yes, I do remember. We had machines. There were bulldozers. There were excavators. End of quote, free translation. Witness, do you know if at a different location than the location where you were working, if bulldozers and excavators were used?
To my knowledge and from what I saw at the work site, from the beginning to the conclusion of the dam construction, I did not see any heavy machineries used. I worked and I went to different locations within the dam work site. I did not see any excavator or any bulldozer.
Can you tell me where on the worksite you worked? First you said you worked in Kampong Tmo, but can you tell me the different locations where you were working elsewhere?
Different units and groups worked at different locations, and I did not know their respective chiefs. However, I can say that there were always chieftains at various levels, group chiefs, for instance, up to the unit chiefs.
I apologize for interrupting you, witness. My question was not that one. My question, you told me that you worked in various locations on the dam worksite. I'm not asking you for the names of the unit leaders. I'm asking you which locations specifically you worked at, because you said that you worked at several locations on the dam worksite. So I'm asking for the names of those different locations.
It started from Koko to the north area of Plong village, and it went, it extended through the 1st January dam. So I worked at various locations along this stretch. As members of units kept relocating to different sites within the whole work site of the dam construction.
And you worked at these different locations during the 3-month period you spoke to us about yesterday. Is that so?
Indeed, that is the case.
And I understood that you were in charge of a group of 50 to 60 people. So, in terms of organization, with regard to meals, how did you proceed? Would you cook at the place where you were working?
We cooked right where we worked, and for food supplies, each village had to be responsible for the food supplies to their workers, and the food supply was brought in from the village.
Was there a person within the unit who was in charge of the meals?
Yes, there was.
And you also spoke yesterday about the fact that you would had dug a well for your water, and a civil party, Seng Sovida, explained at the hearing of 2 June 2015, that's E1/308.1. And the question that was put to her is the following. Was the water drinkable? Could everyone drink the water? Could everyone drink the boiled water? And the answer was the following. Yes, the water was boiled for the workers on the work site. I don't know what the quality was of the water, but generally we would take water from the river. There was no running water. End of quote, free translation. So my question is the following. As a unit leader, did you take any measures to boil the water that you would give to the workers working under you?
We did boil some water, but it's in the interest of time. Sometimes we did not boil it, or sometimes when it rained, we could not boil it. And we actually tried our best to resolve the living condition of the workers on site.
You also spoke about the existence of latrines by the sleeping quarters. Can you tell us who decided to build these latrines?
latrines had to be built by the people in charge of the village and the workers who were sent to work there. So like in the case of my village, I organized the construction of those latrines.
Is it you as well who organized the building of the sleeping quarters?
The sleeping quarters were built, however, it was not a proper sleeping quarter, as some parts of the roof were patchy and the rain could fall through. However, we did our best for the workers there.
My question is specifically, is it you who was responsible for the building of these sleeping quarters?
Yes, I was the one to manage and organize the sleeping quarters for the workers from my village.
And, well, you spoke about meals, and you said that it was the village that would supply the workers with food. So is it you who would tender your requests to the villages in terms of how much food was necessary to supply?
Yes. While I was on site, I made such an arrangement. I sent people to go to the village and to bring back necessary food for the workers on site. I did that. And of course, I looked after the workers from my village.
And in terms of discipline, with regard to how the workers would work, were you the person in charge of implementing this discipline, in charge of controlling how the workers under you would work?
It is my responsibility to manage my workers. However, it was a chain of command, as above me there were other chiefs at various levels. And when I received strict instructions in terms of working hours, for instance, then I had to relate and implement such instructions within my group. And we all did the same thing. I worked as hard as my workers from my village.
And can you tell me, if you remember, what the name was of your direct superior at the dam site?
The worksite supervisors had been transferred to various locations or to the front battlefields, and I cannot recall their names.
I didn't understand your answer. When you worked at the 1 January dam worksite, they were also on the worksite as well? Or were these supervisors present at the worksite, or you would only see them from time to time?
Supervisors came from different areas or from different villages, and they did not remain on site. They only came when it was needed. And Later on, they had been transferred to work for the military.
Now I would like to talk about another topic with regard to your activities as a militiaman. In your statement D166/156, you said that Tlong, the commune leader, if I understood properly, was the head of the secret agent unit. Did I understand you correctly with regard to this? And I'd like to specify that this is at ERN French 0040298, English ERN 00330719, Khmer 00321786.
Je vais peut-être reposer ma question.
Maybe I should put the question to you again, because apparently there seems to be a problem. So my question was it Klung, as you said in your statement, who was in charge, who was the head of the secret militia?
President witness, please hold on, and the International Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know whether there's a translation issue, but in the English version of his statement, it indicates that Klang was the commune chairman, not the head of the commune militia. So I don't know whether it's translated differently in French, but the English does not say that he was the head of the commune militia.
Yes, indeed, there might be a translation issue, because in French, and I will quote what's said in French and translate directly, I was a member of the commune militia for 2 months in 1976, and in this unit of secret militiamen, there were 12 members, and Klung was the leader, but Klung died. End of quote. That's a direct translation from the French. So maybe in order to avoid any issues, it would be necessary to have the witness clarify this point. So witness, can you tell us if Klung was indeed the head of the secret militia while he was the commune chief as well, or is this wrong?
He was chief of the commune militia, not chief of the commune. And let me repeat, he was head of the commune militia.
So then who was the commune chief in that case?
He was the commune chief at that time.
And was it Klung who recruited you as a militiaman?
Yes, it was Klang who recruited me.
And before you were recruited by him, did you know him? Had you already worked with him?
I did not know him for long before the recruitment. I only knew him for a brief period before that.
Yesterday, during the hearings, in answer to a question put to you by my colleague, the Counsel for the Civil Parties, shortly before 2:30 p.m., that is between 2:28 and 2:30 p.m., to be more precise, you stated, and I quote, "My task was not to execute people. Quite on the contrary, I was there to protect the village, to protect the inhabitants." End of quote. Who told you that it was your task as a militiaman to do that?
It was the commune chief who gave instructions for the village militia to guard or to patrol the village.
Donc,
So when you say that my task was not to execute people, but quite on the contrary, I was there to protect the village and the inhabitants, was that what the commune chief told you?
Yes, that is correct.
toujours un petit peu avant,
Still, shortly before 2:30 p.m., you stated that, at least as I understand, and I quote, were asked to watch over the activities of the people, regardless of their status, whether they were leaders or simple inhabitants. End of quote. Question: were you yourself ever tasked to watch over the people, and if yes, who precisely?
Well, at that time, I oversaw and I also supervised and protected the villagers in the village. It was under my purview.
je répète ma question.
Let me repeat my question. You stated that you also had to keep an eye on leaders. My question, therefore, is whether you yourself had to watch over leaders, and if yes, who exactly?
Well, I used to watch over that, including the militia leaders, the leaders in the village. For example, when they distributed rice to the villagers, we had to make sure that they did not embezzle against the people. So I had to monitor that. We monitor the leaders of commune or Sangkat.
Alors là, j'ai un...
I have a hard time understanding something you've said yesterday. When I told you that you were a militia at the level of the commune, you corrected me and said, no, you were a militia in the village. And that led me to think that you couldn't have to watch over leaders at the level of the village and in the commune. So my question to you is, at what level did you have to watch over leaders
Well, at that time, I was not vested with any authority, but my task was mainly to monitor the distributions of rice. For example, at the commune or Sankat level, they embezzle against the people, and then consequently, people did not have enough food to eat. So that is what I was supposed to do. I felt very sorry for the people at that time, so I had to monitor that that was done correctly.
Alors, c'est vous qui avez...
So, were you the one who took upon yourself the task of watching over people, or it was a task that was handed down to you by the commune level?
No, nobody appointed me, but I had to do it on my own. When I observe any wrongdoing, then I monitor that. And people had suffered a lot because of the lack of food to eat. So it was at my own initiative to do that without any appointment or formal appointment whatsoever.
Mais vous le faisiez en dehors de votre village?
Did you do that outside of your village?
No, I only monitor in my local village, particularly when the food was distributed.
J'ai compris de vos explications hier.
Yesterday, I understood from your explanations that you observe also your role as a militiaman to assist villagers. You also explained that you store rice in order to redistribute it. My question to you, therefore, is as follows. Where did you steal the rice which you subsequently distributed?
It was a common communal rice of the commune. And at the time, I observed that they did not distribute sufficient ration for the people. And then over time, when I went there, the rice disappeared. I did not know where they had taken them away. So I consulted with the old villagers as to what we had to do, and then they advised me that if we could do anything, even stealing it, we had to do it, otherwise people would be starving.
Et ça, c'était à l'insu des membres de la commune?
Did you do that without the knowledge of members of the commune?
Yes, you are right. They did not know. If they had known, I would not have survived. Even Klang was not aware of that. If he had known that, I would be killed instantly. That was clear and obvious. Such wrongdoing as stealing, if it was known, this was considered a serious offense, and I would be killed instantly if it was known.
Ça veut dire que personne ne vous surveille?
Does it mean that no one was watching you? You explained that there were 12 militiamen at the level of the commune. Are you saying that none of those militiamen was tasked with keeping an eye on you? Since you say that everyone had to keep an eye on one another.
Of course, the militia monitor our activities, and if the militias would know that they would implicate us or accuse us of betraying them or betraying the communal interest, then I would be killed. So at that time, I did not let any militia members knew that, and I had to steal that to distribute to the people. So I did not let those militia member knew it, I felt very sorry for my people at that time, so I had to do whatever I could to help them. Because at that time they only had access to watery gruel at that time, so I had to do what I could do at the time.
Hier, pourtant, vous...
And yet, yesterday, you stated that you stole rice, and the villagers who were grateful to you gave you rice and chicken to eat. Where did they get the rice and chicken, and were they authorized to obtain such foods?
Actually, the chicken was the chicken raised in that village. Because at that time, I was watching over at the times, and if I did not allow them to prepare chicken, then they would not do it, and I could not eat it. I could not prepare it for myself, but I could ask people to prepare it, and we all in the village ate together. At that time, everything had to be equal between the leaders and the villagers. We had the same food ration at that time.
Donc, si je comprends bien, au niveau...
So if I understand correctly, in your village, you are the person who had the authority to share rations to the people. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I distributed materials, food ration, and forces, mobilized forces in order to collect fish and crops. And I was the one who actually oversaw the management and distribution in the communal dining hall.
Alors, j'ai bien écouté votre...
Well, I have carefully listened to your account of the facts and events witnessed, as my learned colleague of the Nonchia team told you. That is not how the villagers viewed the situation. I'll read out to you Utseng's record of interview at document E1/309.1. That was shortly after 9:32 and 9:34, as my learned colleague told you, and he quoted that passage in which Utseng describes you as, and I'll quote what he said exactly in order that you may bear in mind his own account of the events. He's speaking about you, and this is what he states. He was the militia leader in Kampong Tama sub-district. As I told you, we saw swords and knives soaked in blood. He acted to show that he was a strong man. My question to you is whether you were the militia head or it was someone else.
No, at that time I was not the leader at all. Klang was the only leader at that time. I was an ordinary member of militia.
Enfin, un membre ordinaire de la milice.
In fact, an ordinary member of the unit of militias had the authority to share rations among villagers in the village.
Well, at that time I was the militiaman of the village, and I was also tasked to oversaw in that village. So I was the head of that militiaman in that I was the head of that village, and also I was also a militiaman myself. So I had to try to find food and distribute it to the people so that people could survive.
Est-ce que, oui ou non,
Did you, yes or no, move about in the village on a bicycle with swords and knives stained with blood?
No. Of course, I rode the bicycle, but I did not carry with me any knife or any weapon.
et je comprends de votre
I understand from your testimony that you never killed or executed anyone. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
le même témoin Outsang
The same witness, Utseng, a little further on in his testimonies, still states, still as regards your person, he was the only person in that Kampong Tuma sub-district who showed how influential he was by carrying on him these swords and knives. He did so to show that he was a strong man. Witness, you were indeed a strong and influential man who did whatever you wished in your village. Isn't that correct?
No, not at all. I was not strong and influential. I was only strong and influential in addressing the shortages of food and the challenges faced by the people in the village. I was very afraid of committing a mistake. So I was not influential in doing anything in the village other than helping my villagers.
Monsieur le Président, j'en ai terminé.
Mr. President, I am done with my examination of this witness and I give the floor to my learned colleague, Kong Samon.
The President, thank you. Now I hand over the floor to Mr. Kung Samon. Kung Samon, thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to judges and all parties to the proceeding. I only have a few questions to follow up. Earlier on, I heard you mention Key as the chief of Tropang Tmo commune. Is that correct? Response. Yes, Kampong Tmo commune was Key. He was in the southwest part of that commune. Question. In your statement, the 166/156 Khmer and 00321786 French 00402982 English 00330719. You made mention Kun as the deputy chief of the commune. Can you tell the court whether you mentioned that name, Kun or Ki, or they are the same names or different people here? Response. They are different individuals. One is Kun and the other one was Ki. Ki was a different person and Kun was another. Question. You said that the members of the commune committee were all dead. And could you tell us the composition of the village committee in Kong Sao? Was there anybody who is still alive now? Response. Actually, the three men who were working with me, Kong Sao and others, were all dead. Thank you. Question. Could you recall their names, the three men you mentioned? Response. Kuon, Tan, I have forgotten the other men. Question. Can you tell the court their respective position? Respond. Kuon was in charge of economic affairs of the village. Tan was his deputy. I was the chief of all the three men. Question. With regard to the members of your working group, when you were in charge at that time, you said you were working in the first century dam and there were 50 members under your supervision. Do you know, is there anybody who is still alive to date? Response. There are many who are still alive now, but I have forgotten their names because we have all grown old now and we have forgotten the names. I only can recall one or two of them, but I believe that many of them are still alive now. Question. The villagers who were in your unit and Kong Sao unit, are they still alive now? Response. Yes, they are alive. All of them are still alive today. Question. With regard to the location of your work site, you said you were working in the first January dam in your testimony earlier in Kokoh, Thlong and Tukvil villages. And earlier on, you also made mention the first January dam toward the west part of Santuk Mountain. My question to you is that when you were working over there, was it on the first January dams or it was on the sub dam or the canals outside or adjacent to the first January dam? Can you clarify that? Response. You know, we had to move from one village to another. Sometimes we were mobilized to work on the first January dam, and then we were moved to the other place. So we had to be moved, you know, from one place to another. Sometimes we had to go and work in Thlong. Sometimes we had to go and work in another village. So our unit was more on mobile. We would not stick to only one location or one work site. We had to move. Question. Well, my question is that if you are working on the actual first January dam or any other site adjacent to the main first January dam, for example, on the canal of the dam. A response. It was within the first January dam. We were not sent to work anywhere outside of the first January dam. Question. Now let me clarify on an issue of the work sites that you were tasked to work. Can you tell us precisely where you worked? Response. At the start, we had to work on the construction of the first January dam. That was the starting point toward the northern part of the first January dam. Question, what do you mean specifically by the northern part of the first January dam? Response. It was along the first January dam, but it was in the northern part of the tributary at the times. But we were on the move actually at the times. We had to move from one place to another. Question. Do you know which village was it, or which position or so, to your recollection? Response. It was in Quite village.
Whom Quite?
Lawyer. Quite village. But when you mentioned the other three villages earlier on, Quite was not one of the villages you mentioned. Can you tell the court about this village? Is Quite also a village that the first January dam was there, or what? Response. Well, it was about 100 or 200 meters away from the first January dam. Question. I just want to be more precise on the actual work site. You were working, whether you were working on the main first January dam or somewhere else outside the first January dam. So again, was your workstation 100 meters or 200 meters away from the main first January dam, or what? Can you clarify that? Response. It was adjacent to the first January dam, our place where we took the rest at night. It was about 100 or 200 meters down from the first January dam. Question. Can you tell the court about the division of labor within your unit? How was the labor divided at the time? Response. Well, at the time we had to divide our labors into different subgroups. One group would comprise of 10 or 12 members. But I had to supervise on a daily basis. Questions. In relation to your work expectation for your unit, how much did you have to accomplish at the time within your unit? Response. At that time, there was a quota limited. For example, we had to accomplish 2 cubic meter of earth. We had to carry that. So that was the quota imposed on each member of us. Question. My question is about the responsibility of the entire unit. What was the actually work requirement for the entire unit before you subdivided them into smaller or sub-units? Response. For example, there was a plan put down to us that we had to complete, for example, 10 square meters or so. Then we had to further subdivide it into our smaller groups, and then we had to accomplish that target. So that was the usual task assignment given to us. Question. Just now you only gave us the example. I would like to know the precise order or instruction from your superior. Can you tell the court as to how much you were expected to accomplish within your group?
The work was assigned according to the number of members within the group. Usually each worker will be assigned a 2 cubic meter work ratio. However, it is also dependent on the total number, as in some groups some workers got sick. Question. It seems that you do not understand my question. My question is for the overall measurement of land plot as it was assigned to your entire group. For instance, how much land that you had to dig in order to build the embankment of the dam? Did you receive such an instruction? Answer, indeed, we did. And then we would divide the overall work assignments to the subgroups. For instance, for a length of 10 meters, a group will be assigned in order to dig to the ground and carry it to build the embankment. And the assigned plot had to be done by the group. And in some parts, the depth of the canal was 5 meters. Question, yes, I understand your example, but I'd like to have a concrete work ratio that was given to your group. For instance, what was the depth of the canal, the width, and the height of the embankment? And if you actually worked at the dam work site and in your capacity as a supervisor, you should have this knowledge. Answer. The embankment on the west part of the dam was 30 by 40 meters. And the width of the embankment was wide enough for vehicles to travel on. And the width, the top part of the canal was 50 meters. However, I cannot give you the depth of the dam. Question. My question is in reference to the specific locations that you worked, and I do not want the measurement of the dam when it was completed. I want the actual work assignment given to your group at that particular site. And if you were a unit chief, then you had to know the measurement before you could reassign portions of the overall assignment to your group to the subgroups under your supervision. President, witness, please hold on. And the International Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
I think the question is repetitive. It's been asked a number of times now. The witness has answered as best he can. I think counsel should avoid trying to lecture the witness about what he can and cannot remember at this point in time. So the question is repetitive. The witness has answered this a number of times. I don't understand the purpose of further questioning, asking the same question over and over.
Counsel Kong Sam-on. I'd like to respond to the objection by the co-prosecutor. I keep asking the same questions because the witness has not responded to my question. President, witness, you instructed not to respond to this question, and counsel, please move on. The witness already responded to your question to the limit of his knowledge. Counsel, thank you, Mr. President. Now I put a question to you, Mr. Witness. in terms of the work assignment, and you mentioned that sometimes 2 cubic meter work assignment was given to each worker in your unit, or sometimes 1.5. However, it could be extended up to 4 cubic meters. Can you please tell the court what was the actual work ratio given to each worker? Answer. What I said yesterday, that is for cubic meter as a daily work ratio. In fact, that was given to those who were under disciplinary action. They had to work harder than to the ordinary workers. So that daily work quota was for those who were under disciplinary action. Counsel, thank you. Who imposed the disciplinary action against those workers? Answer. I myself did not do it. However, the imposition was by those people coming down from the commune. Question. And how many workers were under such disciplinary action each day? Answer. If workers did not make any mistake, then they would not be subject to disciplinary action. However, sometimes they were accused of making mistakes, and for that reason, they were under the disciplinary action, but such action did not occur on a daily basis. Question. Amongst your 50 workers for the period of 3 months that you worked at the first January dam work site, how many workers were under such imposition of the disciplinary action? Answer. None of my workers was under such action, as none of them pretended to be sick or something similar. If they were too tired, then I would allow them to rest. Question. When you were asked about the daily work quota for members of your unit, you said yesterday that sometimes they were assigned a 4 cubic meter daily quota. But now you said that none of your workers was under such disciplinary action. Can you please clarify the situation? Answer. I apologize. Probably I made a mistake yesterday when I said that. Question. Again, on the total work assignment for your entire unit, could you please tell the court, for instance, for a particular area that your unit was assigned to, at the completion of the assignment for that particular work site, what was the achievement? Did you fully complete it before you were relocated to another part of the dam project? And allow me to give you an example. For instance, the width of the canal was 50 meters and the depth was 10 meters. Then, out of these 10 cubic meters, I had to assign the entire work assignment to my workers. So they had to dig the ground of that measurement in order to build the embankment. Question. I understand that, but my question is, did you complete the work first before you were assigned or relocated to another part of the work site? Answer. For the first 10 days, we could complete the work assignment with the measurement of 15 meters wide, and that was the actual achievement. Question. Now, in relation to your position, you said that you were a village chief and you were also a militiaman, and that your role as a militiaman was only for your village. Did you have any contact or communication with the commune level in terms of security matters? Answer. We received instructions regarding this matter from the commune level, but allow me to stress that I only guarded my village, and the work assignment was imposed from the commune level by the commune chief. Question. A while ago, my international colleague asked you about your position in the village, and you said in your militia duty you had to monitor members of your team. Can you give us an example of your monitoring activity of a particular member of the group? Answer. I did not actually monitor anyone in particular. Question. Thank you, Mr. Witness and Mr. President. I am done. President, the hearing of testimony of the witness is now concluded, and after that we will hear testimony of a civil party, that is to TTCP 261. A TPO staff, Madam Chalidaid, will sit alongside the civil party to provide support. And Mr. Lee Lun, the Chamber is grateful of your presence during your testimony for the last 2 days, and your testimony may contribute to ascertaining the truth. In this case, your testimony is now concluded and you are no longer required to be present in the courtroom. Therefore, you may return to the place where you're staying or the place where you are residing, and the Chamber wishes you all the best and safe journey. Court officer, in collaboration with Visu, please make a necessary transportation arrangement for the witness. And Mr. Myung Sawan, the duty counsel for the witness, the Chamber is thankful for your assistance. The court is now adjourned for a short break and resume at 10:30.